And hello and welcome on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona. We're at Scalinos Field. Dave Soberai, as always, for the play-by-play for a non-league matchup featuring AOS baseball taking on the Inland Valley Buccaneers. Of course, the Buccaneers and Pirates calling this their home field all season long. We're getting a 30-minute delay, and actually it's looking more like it'll be about 40 minutes now by the time this game starts due to the circumstances of the field, which were not very good conditions before the Bucs came in here. And they came in at about 9:15 and prepped the field, and it was very muddy, particularly at shortstop, also down kind of at the batter's box and the pitcher's mound. Of course, they prepped it, and it's all good now. That's why we're getting that later start, because they were not able to take their cuts in the batting cage till about, maybe 5 minutes before the start of the game. So we have this late start, but we are just about getting set for opening pitch here. And we'll give you the starting lineups for both squads as pitcher and catcher are taking the mound for the first time. Actually, Rudy Casares, the second baseman, who's working on second a little bit still, just putting the second base in. It will be Gerardo Ramirez as the starting pitcher for the Inland Valley Buccaneers, a guy who's done very, very well this season, particularly in the last outing that he had. The last start he had, he shut down the Pirates, who are in first place of the SCCBL. 6 innings, 2 runs, and 5 strikeouts against the Inland Valley Pirates. And that is obviously a great performance for Ramirez because the Pirates are one of the best lineups he's seen all season long. And he will be the starter on Tuesday, so we figure that this is kind of going to be more of a bullpen for him. He'll probably go 1 or 2 innings here as the starting pitcher. And Tuesday is the big one for Ramirez because that's against the Power in Palm Springs. And, of course, the Buccaneers would love nothing more than to take a victory from a team that's won this conference the last 3 years. The Buccaneers have taken one from everybody so far. Power the one exception to that. So hoping to win that game on Tuesday or Wednesday or maybe both. And if they can do that, they're still in the race for the playoffs. Buccaneers have to win out their final 4 games to make it to the playoffs and finish as the number 3 seed in the SCCBL. They would also need Team San Diego to lose out, but that's very possible because Team San Diego, they have to play the Pirates for 2 games and the Power for 3. So very, very possible that that could happen. Another possibility is potentially a 3-way tie with Team San Diego, the Buccaneers, and the Heat. But we'll get to that later on in the season if that does happen. Of course, winding down the season really is the last couple weeks of the regular season here. And then the playoffs will be the following week, the last week of July. And we also have the All-Star game that Saturday in Palm Springs. The Inland Valley Buccaneers, of course, in their customary white cutoff shirts, black sleeves, white pants, black hats. Meanwhile, it'll be AOS baseball in red shirts and white pants. As the Buccaneers are on the third base line, huddled up and just about ready to take the field. Gerardo Ramirez, as we mentioned, is on the mound and warming up here to his catcher, Brendan Campbell. Here's the starting lineup for AOS baseball. It'll be leading off in center field, Andy Jones batting second. The right fielder, Ryan Whithorn, batting third. Cal Fazio, the first baseman. Cleanup hitter will be A.C. Nunez, the third baseman. Kaz Herrera is batting fifth. T.J. Carter, the left fielder, batting sixth. Josh Jacobs is batting seventh. Josh Anderson, the catcher, batting eighth. Matt Hernandez, the second baseman, is hitting ninth. Rob Salcido hitting 10th. The shortstop, Jacob Kaufman, hitting 11th. And Tyler Charlton is hitting last. So AOS will send up 12 hitters today. Meanwhile, this is the defensive alignment for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. Buccaneers will have Miles Ryan in left field and Busi Hashwayo in center field. Anthony Rabito in right field. Then going left to right across the infield, you've got Brooks, Seminaris, Cazares, and Spawn. And we already mentioned the backstop behind home plate. That is Brendan Campbell. Certainly good attendance here today for the Buccaneers. It looks like pretty much everybody is in uniform for this game. Haven't seen too much of Jake Teagle, but he is here today. He has 2 jobs that he works this summer, so it's hard for him to make it to the park. But he said he had to get some baseball in on this Sunday. So that is why he's here, not in the starting lineup, though, today, is number 16. Well, obviously, for the Buccaneers, this is another big week. Obviously, last week was a lot of games before the 4th of July week where they played a number of games. They went Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, a couple games, Sunday. And then they played Monday and Tuesday. And then, obviously, you have the 5 days off from Tuesday here to Sunday. And hoping to get some good swings here today as they're now just about set to take the field at 11:43 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here at Cal Poly Pomona. And the Bucs have taken the field here as they will kind of loosen up. Actually, Gerardo Ramirez is pretty much already warmed up himself, the pitcher, who is working over the mound for a little bit longer. Gerardo Ramirez was right front and center with the mound preparation. And his teammate in high school from Diamond Bar, Chris Sanchez, was really the one who was all over the mound and fixed it up real nice. At least that's what Gerardo told me before the game. Of course, Chris Sanchez was actually the pitcher of the week in the SCCBL. 10 1/3 innings this past week, 1 earned run, and 12 strikeouts. Meanwhile, the Bucs also have the hitter of the week, Kevin Riley, who will be a DH in this game, so he's not playing in the field. As we already mentioned, the defensive alignment for the Buccaneers. So it's been a good week for the Buccaneers, as well as the fact that in the last 5 games they are 3-1-1. Of course, the one tie maybe hurts a little bit for the Bucs because that was a game that you feel like Micah Byer comes out and pitches 6 innings of no-hit baseball, and then he gets taken out, and the Legends score a run, take a 1-0 lead, but the Bucs have a lot of chances in the late innings of that game, and they get one on a sac fly RBI in the 9th inning to tie it up at 1 apiece. And then in the 10th, the first 2 men reach base, and something that the Bucs have struggled a little bit with all season long, they could not sacrifice the runners over. You had 2 men on, no outs in the 10th inning, and you end up not scoring a run there. And that was the end of the game after 10 innings because of darkness. So it ends up in a tie. The 2 teams will not see each other again this season. So that is why that tie will hold true in the record for the Buccaneers and the Legends. Speaking of the Legends, that's another broadcast that we're going to have for you this week. That'll be the Pirates versus the Legends on Wednesday. As our next broadcast after today will be on Tuesday, Pirates and East LA. But we are just about set for opening pitch here at Cal Poly Pomona, and we are underway. First pitch misses low for ball 1 from Gerardo Ramirez to Andy Jones, the left-handed hitter from AOS. Late kick, and here's the pitch, and this one misses low as well, so it's 2-0 here. Well, when Gerardo Ramirez found out before the game that he would be the starter for the Palm Springs Power, he smiled and said he would be ready for that. So, he's looking forward to that as he steps off the mound here. 2-0 count. Working out of the windup, the right-handed pitcher fires. Fastball low. So the first 3 pitches all missing low for Gerardo Ramirez. And it's now a 3-ball, no-strike count as Brendan Campbell will walk out to the mound and kind of give him some confidence and maybe just try to settle him down a bit. After the first 3 pitches miss low from Gerardo Ramirez, the right-handed pitcher, of course, 5'10", 210 pounds. Hometown is Diamond Bar and went to Diamond Bar High School. For Diamond Bar High School, he put up ridiculous numbers, not just on the mound, but also at bat. This is the first strike right down Broadway, but of course on a 3-0 count, you're taking all the way if you're the leadoff hitter, Andy Jones. And it's now 3-1. So obviously this is a hitter's pitch, I should say. But this one misses outside, and it's a 5-pitch walk drawn by the leadoff hitter for AOS. And they have their first man on board here in the first inning. Well, you talk about you never want to get the leadoff man on base because the numbers just go up drastically in terms of being able to score at least 1 run in that inning, especially when it comes on a walk. That's a pretty big lead out there at first base, and Ramirez will go to first. And it was pretty close as the Bucs dugout was kind of cheering. But certainly Jones slid in safely, head first, before the tag applied by Jack Spahn. Here's Ramirez, and he comes in there for strike one, and it's 0-1 here to Ryan Whithorn, the right fielder for AOS. We were mentioning about the stats for Ramirez this past season as a junior at Diamond Bar High School. 12 appearances, 11 games started for them. This one is a fastball that misses low and away for a ball. And Campbell, once again, will hustle out to the mound and kind of just try to talk about a strategy over there with Ramirez. He had a 2.80 ERA, 9-2 record, 5 complete games, which is pretty impressive. Of course, the high school level is 7 innings, but still pitching 7 innings is good effort. And was 9-2, as we mentioned. And most impressive, maybe, it was 65 innings and 64 strikeouts, so really an ultimate strikeout pitcher is number 19. Another big off throw and another pretty close play at first base. Might want to take a little bit of a shorter lead there. Ramirez comes set, firing another stretch, and this is an off-speed pitch that misses high and in for ball 2, 2-1 the count here. Gerardo Ramirez towing the rubber for 25 innings this summer so far. Checks the runner at first and now comes set. Mentioned standing on the left side of the mound, fires a fastball that's swung on and lifted down the right field line. It's foul and out of play, as Anthony Rabito, the right fielder, was chasing it. Also was Rudy Casares, the second baseman. This season, Ramirez is 2-1, 4.32 ERA, 1.32 WHIP. And we mentioned the 25 innings and 19 strikeouts for the Inland Valley Buccaneers. Nice pitch, called strike 3, and down goes Whithorn. That'll be the first out here in the top of the first inning for Gerardo Ramirez. Here comes the number 3 hitter in the lineup, the first baseman Cal Fazio for AOS. AOS is another team that's based in the Inland Empire. Here's the pitch. Breaking pitch misses low and inside for ball 1. 1-0 the count here for Gerardo Ramirez. We were talking about, and we alluded to it a little bit earlier, that this is really just the start of a big week for the Buccaneers. As Ramiro fires, fastball just outside, and it's 2-0. And the reason it's so big is who they're playing on Tuesday and Wednesday. They're going to make the trip out to Palm Springs for a 2-game series with the Power. Fastball, low, ball 3. So Ramirez struggling a little bit here in the first inning and now kind of working over the dirt on the pitcher's mound. And this is the second 3-0 count he's had to just 3 hitters. 3-0, swung on and missed. So Gerardo Ramirez still kind of not too sure that he likes the way the mound feels. He's kind of digging at it a lot. Is the right-handed pitcher. Like we said, it was a bit muddy. This one is a fastball swung and lifted behind home plate. Brendan Campbell in pursuit and won't be able to get to it. So that falls harmlessly to the ground for AOS. And that'll be the second strike here to Cal Fazio. So we've got a 3-2 to come to number 50, the first baseman for the men in red. If you're just joining us, we started about 40 minutes late. That was because the field was not in the best of conditions. Of course, the Buccaneers getting here nearly 2 hours early, and they got it ready for the start of this game here, but that's why we were a bit late. This one swung off the hands and foul down the first base line. So we'll do it again. Another payoff pitch to come. Of course, another warm day in Pomona. Another day where there's really not too much wind to speak of. If you look at the trees out in the outfield, not really moving at all. Pretty much stiff out there. Time called for by the hitter. So Fazio will step out of the batter's box and step right back in, as this has been another long at bat here. Runner bluffs, swung on and missed, strike 3, so that's the second strikeout here for Ramirez. So Ramirez walks the leadoff hitter on 4 pitches. That was Andy Jones, who is still on first base. Strikes out Ryan Whithorn looking, and now strikes out Cal Fazio swinging. And up comes the cleanup hitter, number 24, A.C. Nunez, for AOS. Ramirez checks the runner at first and now goes back to first. He's been very concerned with Jones. He's thrown a number of pickoff attempts over there to first base. As we mentioned, it looked like Jones had a pretty big lead earlier in this inning, but now it's a bit smaller. Here's the pitch from Ramirez, and it misses inside fastball, ball 1, 1-0 the count. We're also saying that Ramirez figures to go on Tuesday as the starter, so really should only see him for 1, maybe 2 innings here, just kind of loosening the arm and getting it in shape for that start on Tuesday. Fastball swung on and lifted foul and out of play down the right field line, 1-1 the count here to A.C. Nunez. 11 a.m. on Sunday is going to be a normal thing for the rest of the season. We'll have another 11 a.m. game for the Buccaneers next week, and then an 11 a.m. game in 2 weeks for the Pirates. Off-speed pitch misses high and in for a ball. As Ramirez kind of lost the handle of that last one, and it hung, but it hung way too high for the hitter Nunez to offer at. Here's the pitch. Fastball swung on and missed, blown by the hitter by Ramirez. And so that'll be a 2-strike count here for number 19. And it's worth mentioning and noting because every time you see Ramirez on the mound, he kind of reminds me of the other number 19 for the Pirates, Andrew Alvarez. The reason is because not only can he get the job done on the mound, but he also gets the job done at the plate as a hitter. Ground ball bounced to the left side, 2-hopper over to Bryce Brooks, and Bryce Brooks can't handle it. So that'll be an error on the third baseman, and the second man reaches base here for AOS. Well, Bryce Brooks wanted to go the short way over to second base, and Andy Jones, as a leadoff hitter, you know, obviously most leadoff hitters have a lot of speed. He was getting there very quickly, and Brooks with 2 outs really probably should have just gone to first base and thrown it across the diamond. But he makes the error, and the inning continues here for AOS. Still no score, top of the first inning. First pitch swung on and missed, and it's 0-1 here to Kaz Herrera. It's very rare that you see Bryce Brooks make an error. This past season for Rio Hondo Community College, at the JC level, he was a Gold Glove player. Here's the pitch from Ramirez, swung on and missed, and it's 0-2. So Ramirez, head of a hitter with an 0-2 count, has already struck out 2 in the inning, hoping to get the side to strike out. Of course, in between there, you had a walk and an error. Here's the 0-2, swung on and missed, strike 3, and down goes Herrera. So that's the 3rd strikeout here in the inning for Ramirez. And it will remain a scoreless tie at the end of 1/2 inning at Scalinos Field. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the first inning here at Scalinos Field on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona. Dave Soberi on the play-by-play. So glad you've joined us here for this non-league matchup featuring the Buccaneers and AOS Baseball. No score yet, just the first inning as the Pirates will take their first cuts. Here's what the lineup looks like for Inland Valley. It'll be Miles Ryan leading off in left, and BucsVsAOS, the center fielder, is batting second. Kevin Riley, the co-hitter of the week, he is in the 3-hole. The cleanup hitter will be the designated hitter, Johnny Juarez. Batting fifth, the first baseman, Jack Spawn. Bryce Brooks batting sixth. At third, Anthony Rubito, the right fielder, is hitting seventh. Casares eighth, Campbell ninth, and Seminaris is 10th. First pitch misses low and outside for ball one from Austin White, the starting pitcher for AOS, right-handed pitcher. Well, Miles Ryan is a big reason why the Buccaneers have been playing so well recently. Leadoff hitter. Normally he's a catcher, although he's out there in left field today. So we always talk about you don't normally see that many catchers as leadoff hitters. Scoring around again, and this one comes high and in on a fastball, and it's 2-0. So the first two pitches from Austin White, nowhere near the zone, either one of them. And one was way outside and low, the other way high and in. So let's see if he straightens it out a bit here on his third pitch. Both infielders playing on the grass, both corner infielders, I should say. And this one misses high and away for ball three, so it's now a 3-0 count. If you remember back in the top of the first, the same thing happened to the leadoff hitter, Jones, for AOS. He faced the 3-0 count and then walked on 4 pitches, so let's see if that happens here for Miles Ryan. And that is exactly what happens, so both leadoff hitters drawing leadoff walks in the first inning on 4 pitches as Ryan heads down to first base. And that'll be the first base runner for the Buccaneers today. Of course, Miles Ryan, we were talking about a big reason why they've been playing so well. Now at a .320 batting clip for the season. And that has gone up drastically over the last 2 weeks. Here's BucsVsAOS, another guy who's been playing very well as of late. Pickoff throw over to first. Ryan remains on his feet. Lashwile hitting .281, but really what you like to see out of him is his .410 on-base percentage. Really like to see that out of somebody at the top of the lineup. This one misses high and away for ball one, and that is the 5th pitch thrown here by White and the 5th ball so far for AOS. On deck is Kevin Riley, and to say that that guy has been on a tear as of late is almost an understatement. And we'll have another pickoff throw. Of course, we mentioned at the top of the broadcast that he was the co-hitter of the week in the SCCBL. And for that week, 12 for 23. So hitting over 500 with a lot of at-bats. Ball two, outside. And it's 2-0 here to BucsVsAOS. BucsVsAOS, 5'10", 170-pound left-handed hitter from Cal State San Bernardino, where he'll be a redshirt freshman next year. And this one paints the outside corner. Strike one, and it's 2-1 to BucsVsAOS. BucsVsAOS checking Kevin Bowler's signs down the third base line. Let's see if they try to put on a play here. Obviously, Mbusi is one of the faster runners on this team. If you've watched any of the Inland Valley baseball games this season, it looks like it's a hit and run, but it's lifted out in left field. So Ryan putting on the brakes halfway in between first and second and will head back to first after the catch was made out there in left field by Carter for the first out here in the bottom of the first inning. So Mbusi flies out to left field, and up comes Kevin Riley. And this is a guy that needs no introduction. If you've watched or listened to any Inland Valley Buccaneer games, you know that this is one of the top players in the league, certainly going to be an all-star on July 26th in Palm Springs. Austin White, the pitcher, shaking his head no, doesn't like the catcher's signs. Now fires, fastball high and away. The throw down to second base will not get there in time. Sliding in head first safely with a stolen bag is Miles Ryan. So Ryan now in scoring position for Kevin Riley. We talked about it. Kevin Riley hitting .365 with a .444 on-base percentage. So when you think about, I mean, first of all, the .365 stands out as a very, very good number. But when you think about the .444 on-base percentage, nearly reaching base 1 out of every 2 times, he's at the plate. 6'1", 185, right-handed hitter from Chaffey College, where he'll be a sophomore next season. Here's the pitch. Swung and lifted to center field. A high fly ball out to center field. Ranging about 5 feet over to his left is the center fielder Jones. And he'll make the grab. So that's the second out here in the inning. as Johnny Juarez will step up to the plate, the cleanup hitter for the Buccaneers. He's been the cleanup hitter the past week or so, maybe past 7-10 days. Really starting to hit the ball a lot better is Johnny Juarez, normally the catcher, but here today is a DH. Still the bottom of the first inning. 2 outs for Inland Valley Buccaneers. This pitch misses for a ball, and it's 1-0 to Johnny Juarez. Juarez 5'11", 190, right-handed bat. Checking down the third base line at Kevin Bowler's signs, of course. Kevin Bowler, the manager for the Buccaneers. Here's the pitch. Swung and bounced over to the left side at the shortstop, Kaufman. Kaufman fires the first, and they'll make the play for the final out here in this inning. So 1 walk, no hits, and no errors, and it remains a scoreless tie here between the Bucs and AOS at the end of 1 inning. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the top of 2 we go in a scoreless game at Cal Poly Pomona. Buccaneers and AOS baseball doing battle, as TJ Carter will come up, and then it'll be Josh Jacobs and Josh Anderson. So that is who is due up for AOS baseball. Meanwhile, Gerardo Ramirez remains on the mound for the Buccaneers. Ramirez striking out the side in the first inning, but Andy Jones also reached on a walk, and AC Nunez reached on an error by the third baseman. So they did get a couple base runners, did AOS in that first inning. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Swung on and lifted over towards the third baseman, Bryce Brooks. He'll make the call, and we'll make the grab, and that'll be the first out here in the inning for the Buccaneers. So Bryce Brooks getting to maybe redeem himself a little bit after making the error in the first inning. Of course, the error didn't end up costing the Buccaneers anything, other than maybe a few more pitches to Ramirez and an extra base runner. Here comes a left-handed hitter, Josh Jacobs. First pitch he sees, an off-speed pitch high and away for ball 1, 1-0 the count. AOS will be hitting 12 hitters in this lineup today, as this one also misses high and away on an off-speed pitch, and it's 2-0. Meanwhile, the Bucs will bat 10 for a non-league game. Ramirez comes set, late kick, and here's the pitch. Fastball in there for strike 1, and it's 2-1. Well, Gerardo Ramirez, certainly one of the better pitchers, if not best pitchers, on the Buccaneers. You also, of course, have Trask, Eric Trask. Swung on and missed, and it's 2-2. And when you think about Eric Trask, he's a guy that was actually nominated for Pitcher of the Month in the SCCBL. He put up very, very good numbers in the first month of the season with the Bucs. Here's a 2-2 offering. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. And so that is the 4th strikeout here for Gerardo Ramirez in just 1 2/3 innings pitched. And up comes Josh Anderson, the catcher, a left-handed hitter for AOS. Thanks again for joining us here on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Obviously, this is a non-league matchup. Here's the pitch from Ramirez. Breaking pitch just misses low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. This, of course, is our first game since, well, it's the Bucs' first game since Tuesday, and the Pirates had a game on Wednesday. So the first game broadcast since Wednesday on our network. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July, as this one is swung and fouled out of play behind home plate. I know some of the players did. They were saying that they had a lot of fun going to the beach and doing whatever it is that they do at the collegiate level. Here's the pitch from Ramirez. Swung on and missed. Strike 2. But I know Anthony Seminaris, he was one of the guys that just said he had a great 4th of July at the beach. Although he ended up paying $60 for parking, but he said it was well worth it. Breaking pitch outside and high for a ball here to Josh Anderson. Anderson is still having to protect the plate with a 2-strike count against Ramirez, who has struck out 4 already. Fastball low for a ball. So Anderson showing good plate discipline, getting the count to a full count here. Payoff pitch to come. On deck is Matt Hernandez, the second baseman. As Ramirez working out of the windup, fires, swung on and missed, and that is strike 3. Down goes Anderson, and that is the 5th strikeout in just 2 innings for Ramirez. At the end of 1.5 innings of play, it remains a scoreless tie between AOS and the Bucs. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back to Cal Poly Pomona. No score as we head to the bottom of the 2nd inning. It's the Bucs against AOS baseball, and up first in this inning will be Jack Spawn, the first baseman. He takes low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. Spawn leading the team in RBIs for the season with 7. Also has 7 runs, which is among the top on the team. Bounces this one right back to the pitcher. 1 hopper to him, and White fields cleanly and fires to the first baseman Fazio for the first out here in the inning. So Jack Spawn retired relatively quickly here in the bottom of the 2nd. And he will hustle back to the third base dugout. Here comes Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks, 6 RBIs, 8 runs, 246 batting average on the season with the Buccaneers. Of course, one of 2 players for the Bucs that was actually on the Pirates last year and then made the switch over to the Bucs for this season. Swings and misses at the first pitch he sees, and that is strike 1, 0-1 the count here to Bryce Brooks. Well, Brooks got banged up in the last game, actually, and was hit on a pitch right on the hand. Had to come out of the game. Actually, that was on Monday, and then he couldn't play on Tuesday. So he's had 6 days off here, and swings at this one and fouls it out of play behind home plate, 0-2 the count. Obviously, the reason I remember why it would be Monday and not Tuesday is because Bryce Brooks actually joined me for a little bit of commentary in the game on Tuesday. Here's the 0-2, and this one misses upstairs for ball to Bryce Brooks. We talked about it when he was in the field, but Bryce Brooks, really a very talented fielder. Here's the pitch. Swung and bounced to the right side. Second baseman Hernandez has it under control, and Brooks was hustling down the line, almost got there in time, but the throw was just there before Brooks could touch the bag, and that'll be the second out of the inning. So a couple ground ball outs, and actually 3 in a row here for Austin White, the right-handed pitcher for AOS baseball, as Anthony Rubito steps in for his first at-bat of the day. Rubito hitting .229 on the season, 5 RBIs and 3 runs. First pitch he sees is lined out in the right field, but pretty much directly at the right fielder Whithorn, who ranges maybe about 5 feet to his left and a couple feet in, and makes the grab. So a pretty quick inning right there for Austin White, as the side is retired in order, and it remains a scoreless tie at Cal Poly Pomona. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the top of 3 we go. 0-0 the score between the Bucs and AOS. We have a new pitcher, and that is Eric Trask, the 6'0", 170-pound right-handed pitcher who you know feels very comfortable on this mound because he plays for Cal Poly Pomona and is the only Bronco on the Buccaneers. Actually, there are 8 Broncos on the Pirates team, but just 1 for the Inland Valley Bucs. He comes set in the stretch and fires the start-on pitch. That's swung on and fouled off the home plate umpire's chest gear. He was hit in the throat even, says somebody that is watching, and that has to be very painful as he is now hunched over, his hands on his knees, and Campbell will walk back out to Trask and hand him the ball. Meanwhile, both the head coach of AOS and, of course, the head coach of the Buccaneers are checking on the umpire. He now stands up on his 2 feet and looks like he's starting to shake it off a bit as the other umpire will come and bring him some water. So we'll have a little bit of a delay here as he kind of shakes off this injury. It looks like he's smiling here now, so looks like it won't be that serious. Of course, Eric Trask is a unique pitcher to catch for Campbell and for pretty much anybody because he's a sidearm thrower. You'll actually see him change his arm angle a bunch of times as well, so that's why he's really hard for hitters to pick up, as it looks like the home plate umpire is now about ready to resume play as the water bottle is given back to the AOS dugout, and the first base umpire will head back out there to first base. So we are ready to resume play. It's 0-1 here to Matt Hernandez, the second baseman. And then there'll be Salcido and Kaufman due up in the lineup for AOS. Well, Eric Trask, we were talking about it in the last inning when we were saying how well Ramirez has been pitching as of late. Well, Trask has been pitching well all season long. Swung on a missed strike 2, 0-2 the count. You look at Trask in 21 innings pitched, 25 strikeouts. He's 1-0, 2 saves, a 1.71 ERA, and a 1.000 whip. This one is bounced to the right side, right back at Trask. He fields cleanly and flips over to Jack Spahn for the first out of the inning. Had the chance to talk to Trask before the game, and we mentioned that he is a Cal Poly Pomona player, so I asked him before the game, what's up? You can't control this field better? You get a 40-minute late start time? And he kind of just shook his head and laughed a little bit and said basically, at Cal Poly Pomona, they probably would have been out there at 8 a.m. instead of 9. Here's the pitch. And a breaking pitch comes right in there at the knees for strike 1 to Rob Salcido. And it's 0-1 to him. Well, we mentioned those stats for Trask, and those stats were good enough to get recognition as a nominee for Pitcher of the Month. This is called strike 2, and it's 0-2. Of course, he didn't end up winning. Andrew Alvarez from the Pirates ended up winning Pitcher of the Month in the SCCBL. And another off-speed pitch that misses inside, and it's a 1-2. But just to be nominated is definitely a good thing for number 14. There are only about 5 or 6 nominees. Sidearm throw, swung and fouled off the catcher's protective gear. So we'll do it again, another 1-2 offering to come. Trask is just a different type of pitcher, and that's usually why you'll see that he comes in the middle to late games a lot for the Buccaneers. As this sidearm throw is swung and fouled straight back behind home plate. So he had another 1-2 to come. See if Trask maybe tries to go with something like a slider low and away here, because he's been coming inside a lot to the hitter Rob Salcido. And this is low and away, and it's about maybe a foot off the plate. It was also too low, and it's now 2-2. So 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, top of the third inning, no score. Line to the right side, straight at the first baseman, Jack Spahn, who on the one hop makes a backhanded grab and then steps on the bag for the 3 unassisted put out. So that'll be the second out here of the inning for the Buccaneers, as we now have the 11th hitter in the lineup, the shortstop Jacob Kaufman at the plate. We mentioned at the top of the broadcast, AOS is hitting 12 in their lineup today. Trask comes set, fires, strike 1, 0-1 the count on a fastball. Eric Trask will be a redshirt sophomore here next season. His redshirt season, he actually served as a student coach a couple years ago. Another nice off-speed pitch called strike 2, and it's 0-2. He's a kinesiology major. Also aspires to work in accounting as well. The 0-2. Lined foul down the right field line. And we'll do it again, another 0-2 pitch here for Trask. But This is another thing that Trask always seems to do very well is get ahead of the hitters. And it's always tough for a hitter when you're behind 0-2, 1-2, because you have to protect pretty much anything near the plate and kind of can keep them guessing. Here's the 0-2, and it's a breaking ball in the dirt. 1-2 the count. Trask's hometown is Arcadia, and went to Arcadia High School, where he was an all-league selection twice, and also the MVP of his team. Trask fires, and this one is bounced down the third base line. Bryce Brooks going to have to barehand it, slings it sidearm, and not in time. So a very tough play to make right there for Bryce Brooks, and that will actually be the first base hit of the game for AOS. And it's an infield hit, the swinging bunt variety, where you're swinging and it basically is hit about maybe 15, 20 feet. Actually, I saw a game earlier this week where D. Gordon had 3 hits, and none of them even left the infield grass. Looks like a line drive to the outfield in the box score anyway. Here comes Tyler Charlton, the final hitter, I should say, in the lineup for AOS, and then back to the top of the lineup, and Angie Jones, who led off with a walk in the first inning. Here's the pitch, and that is a strike from Eric Trask. Trask's favorite team, the Dodgers. A lot of players will say the Dodgers are the Angels, living here in Southern California. Favorite player is Hanley Ramirez. It's a bit interesting for a pitcher because most pitchers usually say that their favorite players are fellow pitchers. This one actually hit the hitter. It looked like it hit him right in the left leg. So that is a second base runner here in the inning for AOS with 2 outs. So AOS, of course, hoping for a 2-out rally. Meanwhile, Eric Trask hoping to keep them off the board as we're back to the top of the lineup. And Andy Jones. Jones drawing a walk on 4 pitches in his first at-bat. Trask checks the runner at second, fires home, fastball alone inside for ball 1, 1-0 the count. And the ball was actually in the dirt. Campbell couldn't find it for a second, but it was close enough to where the runner on second base, Jacob Kaufman, wouldn't be able to advance 90 feet to third. Of course, Kaufman reached on the infield single down the third base line, and Charlton, who's on first, was hit by a pitch. This one's in there for a strike. Trask, sidearm throw, swung on and fouled back at the screen. As the on-deck hitter will pick up the baseball for AOS. Of course, that's something that we see all season long. No ball boys or bat boys in the summer collegiate baseball leagues. And here's the pitch from Trask, and this one is just fouled, as that was an emergency hack right there for Andy Jones to just kind of stay alive. Not really a pitch that he can do any damage with, but a pitch that was close enough to the zone that he thought he had to protect the plate, and he did just that. Trask tests a runner at second base and now steps off the mound, as Seminaris is actually showing him the glove in an attempt to maybe make the pickoff throw to second base. Buccaneers don't usually tend to hold the runners on at second. Here's a pitch, lined into left field for a base hit. Charging in is the left fielder Ryan. The throw is going to come to the plate, but not in time, and the AOS baseball team will take a 1-0 lead here in the top of the third inning. So all of a sudden, after getting the first two hitters out on ground balls, you give up the infield single, and then you hit a batter, and then Andy Jones lines one out into left field, and it's 1-0 AOS. Here comes Ryan Whitthorn. He's 0 for 1 with the strikeout. Of course, it was Gerardo Ramirez who started the game and went 2 innings and struck out 5. This one is swung and fouled down the first base line, 0-1 the count. Gerardo Ramirez looking very good in the 2 innings that he pitched, preparing for a huge start out in Palm Springs on Tuesday. 0-1. Off-speed pitch that misses. Maybe it missed a bit inside. It's ball 1, 1-1 the count. Looked like it was a very close pitch, though, nonetheless. Here comes the 1-1 offering. And this one is bounced to the right side, and will it get through the hole? No, it won't. Going deep in the hole and spinning around. 360s. Rudy Casares making the throw. What a good play there, as it seemed like it was going to get through that hole on the right side, but Casares had it under control and showed great body control, really, to do the spin move and still throw the runner out at first base. And so that'll do it here for the top of the 3rd inning. But on 2 hits, 1 run is scored and no errors for AOS. They take that 1-0 lead as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. 1-0 the score. AOS on top of the Buccaneers. First pitch is on the outside corner for strike 1 to Rudy Casares. And so often you see a guy make a great play in the field and then he comes up at bat first to lead off the next inning. And that is what's about to happen right here for Casares, who lines one in the left field, but pretty much straight at the left fielder, who actually judged it a little bit poorly, but still makes the catch, did Carter, and that'll be the first out here. You always talk about a line drive hit directly at you as one of the hardest to judge because you're not sure whether or not to come in or move out, and he maybe had to move a couple feet back, but actually made sort of a leaping grab as Carter just kind of stayed put at his post out there in the left field. Here comes Brendan Campbell. Campbell takes ball 1 high and it's 1-0 to the catcher, hitting .208 this season. Here's the pitch from Austin White. Swung on and lifted over to the right side. 1 hopper to the second baseman Hernandez, and he'll make the play to first for the 2nd out. So really, you look at the first person in the game, Miles Ryan. He drew a 4-pitch walk, and after that, nobody has reached base for the Buccaneers. So that is 8 consecutive retired by Austin White. Here's Anthony Seminaris, the shortstop, batting in the number 10 spot. He takes inside for ball 1, 1-0 the count. So you go back to the top of the lineup after this. So if nothing else, you definitely enjoy where you're going to start the next inning. Of course, right now, Seminaris is not thinking that at all. Seminaris is thinking about trying to get a base hit and have a 2-out rally, much like AOS did in the last half inning. This pitch is low and away, ball 2, 2-0 the count to number 2, Seminaris. 2-0 offering, and it's low and away for ball 3. 5'10", 175, right-handed hitter is Anthony. Plays for Fullerton College. He'll be a redshirt freshman next season. Hometown is Chino Hills and went to Ayala High School. There's a number of guys who went to Ayala High School on this team, about 5 or 6. And this one comes inside for strike 1, 3-1 the count. Seminaris is still wearing his Ayala High School black undershirt. He wears one sleeve on the right arm, no sleeve on the left arm. And this one hits him in the left arm, and he will head down to first base. So this is the first base runner of any sort, since the first hitter of the game, who is now at the plate, Miles Ryan. The only 2 to reach base are Seminaris on that hit by pitch and Ryan on a walk. But you like to see Ryan at the plate here with the runner on base because we were talking about it in his first plate appearance. He's a guy that really has been coming on very strong over the past couple of weeks, raising his batting average all the way to .320. White comes set, working out of the stretch now. And this one's overthrown and gets by the catcher on a wild pitch. And Seminaris will advance 90 feet and is now in the scoring position here for the Buccaneers. So the Bucs hoping to take advantage of maybe their own two-out rally here after the AOS team came through with a two-out rally in the last half inning. Pretty sure Miles Ryan would just love to trade places with the runner on second, Seminaris, right now. So if you could do that, that would mean it was an RBI double. This pitch misses low and inside for ball 2. 2-0 the count to Miles Ryan, 5'11", 170, right-handed hitter. Plays for Citrus College. A lot of players on both the Pirates and Buccaneers either currently play for Citrus College or previously played for Citrus. High and away, ball 3. So Ryan, in 2 plate appearances, seeing no strikes. We talked about it, but he's a very disciplined hitter. Even though he's in left field right now here today, here's the pitch. And this one's called a strike, 3-1 the count. Normally a catcher, and the reason he hits in that leadoff spot is he makes a lot of contact with the ball and has a very great understanding of the strike zone. Very disciplined at the plate. Here's the pitch, and it misses high for ball 4. So Miles Ryan seeing 9 pitches today and drawing 2 walks, and he will now head to first base. And there's 2 runners on, 2 outs, bottom of the 3rd inning, 1-0 the score, Bucs trailing. As BucsVsAOS steps up to the plate. He's 0 for 1, flew out to the left fielder on a pitch that was supposed to be a hit and run. They put a play on with Ryan and BucsVsAOS back in the 1st inning, and he kind of lifted it out there in the left field as opposed to getting it down on the ground. First pitch is a strike, called strike for White, as it was an off-speed pitch in there. BucsVsAOS is a computer science major at Cal State San Bernardino. Went to Woodbridge High School in Orange County. Swings and misses at this one, and it's 0-2. So quickly, number 12 falls behind 0-2. Here's a second-team All-League player for them. Hit .356 his senior season. Here's the pitch. And it's a fastball that was out of the zone, and BucsVsAOS went after it, and down he goes on strikes. And so that'll do it on a chance for a 2-out rally with 2 men on. BucsVsAOS strikes out on 3 pitches as the Buccaneers head back to their third base dugout. It remains a 1-0 score. The Buccaneers are trailing. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. To the top of 4 we go at Scalinos Field on the campus of Cal Poly Pomona. So glad you've joined us for this non-league matchup featuring the Bucs and AOS baseball. First pitch from Trask in there for called strike 1 to Cal Fazio, the number 3 hitter in the lineup. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Here's the second pitch from Trask, and it misses inside for ball 1, 1-1 the count. Well, Ramirez started the first 2 innings and gave up no hits and struck out 5, and then Trask came in the 3rd inning and on 2 hits gave up a run. And so that's where we stand right now. 1-0 the score. AOS on top of the Buccaneers, top of the 4th inning. Last pitch misses outside for ball 2. It's 2-1. This one is swung on and fouled out of play behind home plate. 2-2 the count. Of course, Scalinos Field, named so after the legendary coach here at Cal Poly Pomona, Frank Scalinos, who won 3 national championships in 1976, 1980, and 1983. Sidearm throw, and this one's hit off the fist and fouled down the first base line. So another 2-strike pitch to come here for Trask working against Fazio. Another thing that just happened recently for Cal Poly Pomona is they got $4 million donated to their baseball program. Here's a pitch from Trask, and it's in the dirt, swung on and missed. That'll be strike 3. The throw will have to be made down to first base, and it actually came a little bit high from Campbell, but Spawn jumping maybe about 6 inches off the bag, and they complete the strikeout there. So that's Trask's first strikeout of the game. And the first out here in the 4th inning, well, if you remember in the last inning, looked like it was going to be smooth sailing for Trask as well, who retired the first 2 hitters on ground balls. Then all of a sudden a 2-out rally for AOS gets them a run. Trask comes set and fires. This one hangs high for ball 1 to AC Nunez. He's 0 for 1, but did reach on an error by the third baseman, Bryce Brooks, back in the first inning. Here comes the 1-0, and it's a fastball overthrown about 58, 59 feet in the dirt, and it's now 2-0. Trask has been very good this season. He's been very tough to score on. We mentioned back in the last inning as this one misses high and in for a ball that he has a 1.71 ERA. Probably another just 2-inning performance here for Trask, just like Ramirez, as this one is blown away for ball 4. And so Nunez draws the walk. And up comes the number 5 hitter in the lineup, Kaz Herrera. He's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. But I was going to say at the beginning of the inning, this is really an inning that you look at for AOS, and they figure that maybe this is an inning where they can score a few more runs. They're sending up the heart of their lineup. They started with the number 3 hitter, and Cal Fazio, who struck out, and then, of course, AC Nunez, the cleanup hitter, drawing that walk there, and now here comes Kaz Herrera. Meanwhile, we have movement in the bullpen down the third base line. Swung on and foul out of play behind home plate, and it's 0-1 here. And that looks like, from what I can see, it looks like Chris Sanchez. But there is a fence down that third base line. It's kind of a little bit obstructed as we have a pickoff throw, not in time from Trask. But I would say I'm fairly certain that is Chris Sanchez. So we figure to see Chris Sanchez probably work the 5th and 6th inning. Line drive down the first base line, but foul. That was good contact made with Herrera, but obviously just couldn't straighten it out enough to get it in the field of play. Here's the pitch from Trask, and this one is grounded over the right side at Casares. Casares going to second and gets the force out there for the second out of the inning. So Herrera reaches on the fielder's choice. 4-6 if you're scoring at home. The ball was hit to the left of Casares, who was actually playing in double play territory, which is, closer to second base. So he ranged to his left, kind of made a nice little another flip over to second base. So that was a good play right there, but not quite as good as the play he made robbing a base hit of AOS earlier in the game, where a ball was hit through what looked like it was going to go through the right side hole, and he basically did a 360 spin and fired to Spawn and made the play. First pitch misses high and away for ball 1. 1-0 the count to TJ Carter. He's 0 for 1 in the game. Flew out to the third baseman Bryce Brooks back in the second inning. On deck is Josh Jacobs. Here's the pitch. Fastball low and away for a ball from Trask. All of a sudden a little bit of a wind gust here, which is actually pretty rare here at Pomona. As this one misses the low and away for a ball. One nothing score, top of the 4th inning. AOS on top of the Buccaneers, as Eric Trask will kind of work over the ball, get prepared to make his next pitch. And here it comes, and this one's low away for ball 4. So that is the second walk of the inning for Trask, who hasn't really been as effective or as efficient as he usually is. He's looked a bit shaky. Hasn't had the same type of control that he normally has for the Bucs. Here's Josh Jacobs. Swings at the first pitch he sees and bounces it through the left side hole past the diving shortstop. And the brakes will be put on over there by Kaz Herrera as the left fielder, Miles Ryan, read it very well off the bat and was in very close. And so now the bases are loaded here after the hit by Josh Jacobs. Herrera, he's on third base, reached on the fielder's choice. TJ Carter on second, reached on a walk. And Josh Jacobs on first, who just singled through the left side hole. And here comes Josh Anderson. So Josh batting back to back. Anderson's 0 for 1. Takes strike one at the knees with the bases loaded. The diving shortstop was Kevin Riley. So Riley getting maybe a few innings in the field for Seminaris. Riley actually started as the extra hitter. Chopper right back at the box. And, Casares makes an error. In comes one run, and now another run's going to score, and it's 3-0 AOS. As we have time called for by the umpire. Throw actually came in to Bryce Brooks, and he made the tag, and the runner stayed up on his feet. But the reason time was called for by the umpire was because after Casares made the error, he basically obstructed the path of the base runner. So the umpire is saying that he is given or awarded the base no matter what. And so after Casares had made a couple great plays in the field, kind of lost focus on this one, and it ends up costing the Buccaneers 2 runs. First pitch called a strike on the outside corner to Matt Hernandez. He's 0 for 1, grounded out to the pitcher in his previous at-bat. Foul tips this one, and it's 0-2. So that's another thing that's plagued the Buccaneers a bit this season, is unforced errors. And it's something that they've really cleaned up over the last week or so. Going back the last 7 to 10 days, the Bucs have played a lot better. But that's something you can't afford to do. You make the error and then 2 runs score. Breaking pitch misses low for ball and is 1-2. Trask comes set. Sidearm throw fired, and it is outside for ball 2. 2-2 the count. So still two men in scoring position here for AOS, hoping to kind of put this one out of hand if they could get another 2 runs and make it 5-0. This one misses high. That's ball 3, full count. So from 0-2 to 3-2 here for Matt Hernandez. Here's the pitch from Trask, and this bounce to the left side. Bryce Brooks actually trying to make the tag, and now will throw to first and complete the play. And so down goes AOS, but the damage was done. Only 1 hit, but 1 error as well, which ends up costing the Buccaneers 2 runs. 3-0 is the score as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. 3-0 the score, AOS on top of the Buccaneers. We have a new pitcher. This is southpaw, Nate Stalinovich, coming in to replace Austin White, who pitched the first 3 innings for AOS. And we actually have a little bit of a problem down the first base line, as it looks like they're kind of fixing the bag over at first base, as the first base umpire and the first base coach, Kevin Smith, kind of talking about exactly what they wanted to do there. Actually, you don't see Kevin Smith on the base pass that often. Normally the Bucs will put a player that's either not in or a pitcher down the first base line. So maybe the Bucs are trying to take this inning extra seriously with the heart of the lineup due up. First pitch misses outside for ball 1 to Kevin Riley. Riley 0 for 1, flew out to the center fielder out in right center field. Was a towering fly ball hit by him. Here comes the 1-0, and this one paints the black on the outside corner, and it's 1-1. We talked about how great he's hitting this season in the SCCBL. Of course, Kevin Riley. He did that as well as a freshman at Chaffey College, as this one misses outside, and it's 2-1. At Chaffey as a freshman, he was a first-team All-Foothill Conference selection, hitting .320. Here comes the 2-1. And this one is lined into deep center field, but once again, the catch is made by Jones for the second fly ball out from Riley out into center field, and the first out here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Here comes Johnny Juarez. He's 0 for 1, grounded out to the shortstop, and his first at-bat back in the first inning. So Kevin Riley, obviously we talked about how hot he was, even getting co-hitter of the week. And this one misses outside for ball 1. 1-0 the count here. But you can't get hits every single time, and he's made good contact out in the center field both times, just kind of hitting it right at the center fielder. Ground ball, a little roller over to the shortstop, Kaufman. He fires across the diamond for this second out, so 2 in a row for Johnny Juarez that are ground ball outs to the shortstop, and up comes Jack Spahn. So it's really interesting because in between innings, I think Kevin Bowler really was not happy with the way his team was playing. Particularly, you give up an error where 2 runs score, and he actually had a little conference out there down the third base line, had a huddle with the players as this one misses low and away for ball 1 to Jack Spahn, 1-0 the count. And you have the heart of the lineup up, and so far you haven't done anything. You had a fly ball out by Riley and a ground ball out by Juarez. Spahn way out in front of that last one, swings and misses at the off-speed pitch. He's 0 for 1 on the day, grounded out to the pitcher. This one misses low for ball to Jack Spahn. Plays out in the San Diego area for Point Loma Nazarene. And this one is called a strike on the inside corner. Slid straight across the plate. Looked like it started its way on the right side of the plate and went all the way to the left, and all Jack could do was look. And now Jack swings and misses at this one. Ball's in the dirt, so the catcher will have to throw to first, and he does just that. And so the side is retired in order here for Stalinovic in the fourth inning. Fly ball out, a ground ball out, and a strikeout. And at the end of 4, it remains a 3-0 score. The Buccaneers are trailing. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the top of the 5th inning. 3-0 the score. The Buccaneers are trailing AOS. AOS getting 1 run back in the 3rd inning. There was the infield base hit by Jacob Kaufman, who ended up scoring on an RBI single by Andy Jones. And then back in the 4th inning, 2 runs scoring on only 1 hit. But the 2 runs came in on the error by Rudy Casares at second base. On a ground ball hit to him, he was about to just make the catch and step on the bag. The bases were loaded, but he pulled up too early, and it went straight through his legs and into the outfield. First pitch is swung on and fouled straight back at the screen. 0-1 the count here for Chris Sanchez, the new pitcher for the Buccaneers. So Ramirez started the first 2 and struck out 5, allowing no hits. Then it was Trask who went 2 innings and allowed the 3 runs, but only one of them was earned. This pitch misses high and inside for a ball, and it's 1-1 here for Sanchez. And now here comes Chris Sanchez, who was the pitcher of the week in the SCCBL. 10 1/3 innings pitched and 12 strikeouts last week. And this one paints the outside corner for strike 2. Chris Sanchez is 6'3", 185. Big right-handed pitcher. And this fastball misses outside for a ball. Another player very familiar with Kevin Bowler because he goes to Diamond Bar High School just like Gerardo Ramirez. Of course, Kevin Bowler is a coach there at Diamond Bar. High fly ball into shallow center field that will fall for a bloop base hit. And so the first man is on board here in the 5th inning for AOS. But we talked about last week, really, where he went 10 1/3 and 12 strikeouts and only 1 earned run the entire week. Of course, 8 1/3 coming against the Rounders. Then he also had 2 innings of relief against the Pirates. Sanchez comes set, looking over at first, and now firing home. Swung on and fouled down the right field line and out of play. 0-1 the count here to Jacob Kaufman, who scored the first run of the game back in the 3rd inning. We mentioned it actually at the beginning of this inning. He reached on the infield base hit down the 3rd base line. Bryce Brooks actually tried barehanding it, and he actually did barehand it, but just couldn't make the play in time to retire Kaufman. This one swung and fouled out of play, and it's now 0-2. Chris Sanchez on the season, 19 1/3 innings pitched, 20 strikeouts, a 1-0 record, 2.33 ERA, and a 1.24 WHIP. Sanchez fires over to first, not in time. Looked like he was thinking about maybe what he wanted to do there, so just decided to go over to first and buy himself a little bit more time with a 2-strike pitch. Sanchez, off-speed pitch, hangs way too high and out of the zone for a ball. Sanchez has a little bit of a unique motion in the sense that when he comes set in the stretch, he lifts the left foot up and then kind of lands on his toe and then puts his heel down. This one is swung on and fell back. So good job of protecting the plate out there by Kaufman, as the on-deck hitter Tyler Charlton will pick up the baseball. Sanchez checking the runner, now firing. Fastball misses inside for a ball. Well, for the Buccaneers, maybe a recurring theme as Sanchez steps off the mound is missed opportunities and then innings that really shouldn't have been. Like, of course, that last inning where they gave up 2 runs on an error. That's something that's really seemed to hurt all season long. Ground ball to the right side back at Rudy Casares. Casares checks the runner over to second and now fires to first. And the runner almost beat it out, but didn't get there in time. So that'll be the first out of the inning. As Casares, he took his time and threw it pretty softly over to first base. And that had the first base dugout making a little bit of oohs and ahs, thinking that maybe that the runner Kaufman had beaten it out, but the umpire down the second base line said no, he did not. So that is the first out, as we mentioned. Runner does advance 90 feet in the scoring position. So AOS hoping to maybe get another run here in the top of the 5th. Sanchez fires, swung and fouled off the catcher. And it's 0-1 here for Tyler Charlton. Charlton, no official at bat today because he was hit by a pitch in his first plate appearance back in the 3rd inning. Sanchez very deliberate, takes a lot more time than a lot of the other players as this one paints the black on the outside, called strike 2. But a lot of the guys when you see in the summer collegiate baseball leagues that they'll pretty much just take no time at all. They'll just get right back on the mound and fire. Sanchez, he seems to look a lot at what Campbell is calling and then likes checking the runner a bit, checks the runner twice. And as we're talking about that, time's called for at home plate. Because as we mentioned, you're in the batter's box for a long time if you're Tyler Charlton. And Sanchez is, first of all, peering in at the catcher's signs for a good amount of time and then checking 2 or 3 times back at second base. Campbell is setting up on the outside corner. Let's see if this is a purpose pitch. Actually, the fastball comes inside, but it's called strike 3 nonetheless. And so down goes Charlton, and that'll be the second out of the inning. So maybe, I don't know if Charlton wasn't exactly expecting that after he maybe felt the presence of the catcher going to the outside of the plate and the pitch comes inside, but it works out for the Bucs nonetheless as the second out of the inning. And up comes the leadoff hitter, Andy Jones. Jones has reached base both times, walked in the first inning, and had the RBI single back in the third inning, and fouls this one out of play down the third base line. Well, I'm figuring we're going to see probably a lot of changes for the Buccaneers going forward into the 5th and 6th inning. As we mentioned, a lot of players are here today. And on top of that, although I think there would have been a change anyways, but on top of that, I don't think Kevin Bowler is exactly thrilled with the performance so far for the Buccaneers here today. As we mentioned back in the last half inning, he kind of had a conference with the players before they entered the dugout. Sanchez. This one was way high and away, an off-speed pitch that really just looked like he was trying to aim it. And that is something that you cannot do as a pitcher, obviously. You got to throw it. You got to pitch it, really, because there's a difference between being a pitcher and a thrower. As this one misses outside, and of course when you're a thrower, you can just throw hard, but you don't necessarily have the feel, the touch. And then when you're aiming it, that's a whole different thing. Sanchez set in the stretch. Fastball swung on and missed for a strike. We've seen a lot of long at-bats for the AOS baseball team. Says a lot. It shows that they're disciplined hitters. And they're not going to offer something out of the zone for the most part. Here comes the 2-strike pitch. Swung on and missed, and that is strike 3. So Sanchez gets his second strikeout of the inning, and the side is retired. There was 1 hit in the inning, but no runs scored. It remains 3-0. AOS on top of the Buccaneers. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning in a 3-0 ball game. The Buccaneers are trailing AOS baseball as Bryce Brooks will step up to the plate. He's 0 for 1 with a ground out to the second baseman. Still on the mound is Nate Stalinovich, the left-handed pitcher, and they're going to lay one down the third base line. Stalinovich, 180 throw over to first, and not in time. I say 180 because as a left-handed hitter, he kind of has to spin around before he can throw it. And the throw was not made in time. So Bryce Brooks laying one down the first base line for an infield single. And that's actually something that helped AOS score a run, actually. They had an infield single, but it wasn't a bunt. It was a, I guess, swinging bunt of sorts as Anthony Rabito steps up to the plate. 0 for 1, flew out to his counterpart in right field. Swings at the first pitch of the season as another fly ball out to right field. And the catch will be made out there by Whithorn for the first out of the inning. And that's something that we've seen a lot out of Rabito this season. Certainly loves swinging at the first pitch. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he did the same thing in his first at-bat. He swung at the first pitch. And, I mean, I already said he definitely flew out to right field. But obviously, not a productive out right there after you get your first man on base with the bunt hit. Breaking pitch is low and inside for a ball. Bryce Brooks, stolen bag down at second base. He was off really early. And actually, it looked like pitcher Stalinovich was even staring at him, but he must not have seen Brooks take off. So the Bucs now with a man in scoring position here for Rudy Cazares. 1-0 the count to him. He's 0 for 1 on the day. Here comes the pitch, and this one is swung and fouled out of play behind home plate, and it's 1-1. Well, Rudy Cazares, we were talking about, he made 2 great plays in the field. But the 2 great plays don't outweigh the 1 error he made that ended up costing the Buccaneers 2 runs. Here's the pitch. And this one is swung on to shallow right field. Will it get down? No, it won't. The right fielder closing in on it and makes the catch for the second out here. So 2 fly ball outs to right field for Nate Stalinovich. And now there are 2 retired in the bottom of the 5th inning. Bryce Brooks still on second base. Didn't try to run to third because the ball was hit so shallow in the outfield that it would have been kind of silly trying to advance there. And testing the arm of Whithorn. Here comes Brendan Campbell. He's 0 for 1, grounded out to the right side. This pitch is high for ball 1. 1-0 the count on an off-speed pitch that was well out of the zone. Brendan Campbell, of course, the catcher for this game. As this one is in there for strike 1, 1-1 the count. That looked like a different arm angle even. It looked like he almost sidearmed that last pitch. Checks the runner at second and now checks again before going home on a nice off-speed pitch, but it's called a ball. And it's 2-1. Well, for the Bucs right now, you got a runner on second base. You really hope that you could get a little bit of a 2-out rally. This one's grounded to the left side in the hole. Nice play made by the shortstop, who throws to first and then makes a great play. I mean, first of all, it was hit in towards the hole, and he made the catch deep on the infield dirt and then fired an absolute rocket across the diamond to first base to retire Brendan Campbell for the final out of the inning. So the Bucs get 1 hit, but no runs here in the 5th inning as they continue to trail 3-0. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the top of the 6th inning. 3-0 the score. AOS on top of the Buccaneers. Chris Sanchez remains on the mound for Inland Valley. First pitch is a fastball in at the knees for called strike 1. 0-1 the count. Well, AOS got their first run in the 3rd inning. And that was an RBI single by Andy Jones that scored Jacob Kaufman. And then back in the 4th inning, this one swung and fouled straight back for strike 2 and it's 0-2. Then in the 4th inning, 2 more runs scored for AOS. Both runs coming in on an error by Rudy Cazares on a ball that was bounced to the right side by Josh Anderson. This one just misses for a ball. Scoring on that play were Kaz Herrera and TJ Carter. And so that's where we stand right now. 3-0 the score. AOS on top of the Bucs. Ground ball to the left side. 2-hopper to Luke Asperger, who's charging and fires, and the throw cannot be made, pulling Teagle off first base. Teagle actually made a really good job just to catch it as it was down the first base line. So that's going to be an error on the new third baseman. And obviously you just heard who I called. Asperger was at third and Teagle was at first. So both corner infielders new. Actually, pretty much everybody on the field is new. Escobar is the new left fielder. Chavez the new center fielder. Brooks has moved from third base to right field. We'll get you the infield after this pitch from Sanchez, who will fire to first, so no pitch. Cal Fazio, the number 3 hitter at the plate. He's 0 for 2 with a couple strikeouts. He's hoping to make some contact here against Chris Sanchez. Slow off-speed pitch called a strike on the outside corner, and it's 0-1 here. At third base is Asperger. Seminaris is still at short. Smith is now at second. Teagle is at first, and Johnny Juarez is the catcher. This one misses outside for ball 1, and it's 1-1. So Seminaris is the only one who remains in his position at shortstop, and Bryce Brooks is the only other player that is still in the game, going from third to right field. Fastball low and away for a ball. Of course, I would assume that when I say that, only player in the field. Kevin Riley will still be hitting, I'm sure. And Johnny Juarez actually started as the DH and is now the catcher. So that probably means Miles Ryan will also still be hitting, as this one is swung and fouled straight back at the screen. Meanwhile, we have movement again in the bullpen for the Buccaneers. And that is Micah Beyer. Micah Beyer, the right-handed pitcher, warming up. Figures to pitch the next probably 2 innings if we could judge it based on how the game has started so far. Ground ball chopped foul down the third base line. Over towards Gerardo Ramirez, who actually started the game. Was very good in the first 2 innings, striking out 5 while allowing no hits. Of course, Ramirez and Sanchez, teammates at Diamond Bar High School. Ramirez, the guy who started, and Sanchez, the guy who is now on the mound for the Bucs. Here's the pitch. Fastball outside for a ball from Sanchez. So it looks like Micah Beyer will be next, and then you'll probably go to Daniel Diaz after that. I believe Diaz is the only other pitcher that the Bucs have here today. Breaking pitch in the dirt, and that'll be ball 4. So the second base runner here for AOS in the top of the 6th inning. One reaching on an error by Asperger, the other reaching on a walk. And up comes A.C. Nunez. So 2 men on and no outs, top of the 6th inning. First pitch swung on and missed, strike 1, 0-1 the count here to Nunez. Nunez, the cleanup hitter in the lineup. So this is a maybe dangerous moment right here for the Buccaneers, trailing by 3 runs already, and with 2 men on and no outs in the 6th inning. Sanchez, fastball paints the black on the outside for strike 2, and it's 0-2 here. Meanwhile, on deck is Kaz Herrera, the number 5 hitter in the lineup for AOS. Sanchez fires, swung on and missed, strike 3. So a 3-pitch strikeout there for Nunez, who was actually retired for the first time, did reach on an error and walked earlier in the game. Here comes Kaz Herrera. Herrera, he's 0 for 2, struck out in the first inning. Reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th and scored the 2nd run of the game for AOS. So 1 out here with 2 men still on base. Sanchez checks the runner and fires a fastball home for strike 1, 0-1 the count. 2 men on base, reaching on an error and a walk. So no hits in the inning yet for Sanchez. Michael Smith kind of actually trying to hold him on there, and he was standing there for a while. And I don't know if Sanchez was aware or not. Maybe Sanchez was expecting the shortstop, but that wouldn't make as much sense with a right-handed hitter. Makes more sense for the second baseman, obviously, to cover, because the right-handed hitter, it's more likely that he'll ground it to the left side. But Smith was there for a good amount of time, and he finally just decided to go over to second base. Off-speed pitch misses low for a ball. Johnny Juarez thinking about a snap throw down to first base as Fazio slid in head first to the bag. But Juarez thinking better of it and keeping it. Here's the pitch. And this one is fouled right back at the screen behind home plate. And they always say when you foul one right back at the screen behind home plate, you're just maybe a fraction off from lining it up the middle. It's another 2-strike pitch right here, though, for Sanchez, who's hoping to strike out his 2nd consecutive hitter. And this one is fouled back It was a fastball high and maybe out of the zone, but probably a pitch that you definitely want to protect on with a 2-strike count if you're the hitter, Herrera. Meanwhile, the on-deck hitter, TJ Carta, picking up the baseball and handing it to the home plate umpire. Here's the pitch from Sanchez. This is lined in the left field, going back and getting over the head of Escobar. And so rounding third and coming home to score is the 4th run of the game for AOS on a line drive single to left field, as nobody could really advance that much because they thought that Escobar maybe had the inside beat on it, had to track on it, but it continued to travel over his head. So just kind of maybe a loud out right there, as Fazio is still on second, and Herrera just has a single on probably what was the best hit ball, not probably, definitely what was the best hit ball of the day on that line drive out in the left field. So 4-0 now is the score. And here's TJ Carter. Fastball on the outside corner, called strike 1, and it's 0-1 here to Carter. Once again, you think about 2 runs that were scored on an error, and this is obviously, this run comes in on a hit, as this breaking pitch misses inside, and it's 1-1. But the way the man got on base who scored was an error on the third baseman, Luke Asperger. Now, it was a challenging play for Asperger, but a play that he probably should have made. 2-hopper hit shallow in the infield. Ground ball to the left side over to the shortstop, Seminaris. Seminaris charging and will fire over to first. Not in time. Infield base hit there for Carter. And so now the bases are loaded for AOS. This is Christian Skinner in for Josh Jacobs. So Jacobs will finish 1 for 2. So Christian Skinner coming off the bench with the bases loaded. You got to like that. Meanwhile, for the Bucs, you don't have to like the fact that the bases are loaded and that you've given up 4 runs already. And now you're calling for time, as Kevin Bowler, the manager, maybe has seen enough out of Sanchez. Let's see what happens. Normally, it's Coach Smith that comes out if they just want to talk a little bit about strategy or whatever, or maybe just settle down the pitcher. Normally, it's when Bowler goes out, the pitcher's done, and that's exactly what's going to happen right here. Chris Sanchez will get the hook. And so Micah Byer will inherit a bases-loaded jam as Chris Sanchez will walk off. And a tough little outing for Sanchez. We mentioned in his last 2 appearances, Sanchez in 10 and the third innings had 12 strikeouts and only gave up 1 run. And here today, in this inning, he gave up 1 run. Of course, the runner that came in to score did reach on an error. But the bases are still loaded here for Byer. And we'll step away for a few moments while Byer gets warmed up and come right back on InlandValleyBaseball.com. Welcome back. It is still the top of the 6th inning. 1 run already scored on an RBI single by Kaz Herrera. It was kind of a noisy RBI single that got over the head of the left fielder, Escobar, and one that you figure if the runners didn't try to tag up, they really might have scored on that play. Here's the pitch from Byer. First pitch low and away for ball 1. This is, as we mentioned right before we stepped away, a pinch hitter, and that is Christian Skinner, who comes in for Josh Jacobs here in the 6th inning. Micah Byer, not the largest fires, and this is grounded over to Teagle. Teagle's going to come home. They get the force out at home, but they can't throw back down to first because Teagle had to charge on the play. But you do get the lead runner at home plate, which is good because that stops another run from potentially scoring. So 2-3, or 3-2, I should say, on that put out if you're scoring at home. Micah Byer, in his last outing, had obviously his best performance so far on the season. Michael Byer going 6 innings of no-hit baseball against the Legends. Struck out 3 in that performance. And Kevin Buller said he was starting to tire in about the 5th inning, so they decided that even though he had a no-hitter, they didn't want to extend him past the 6th inning. Here's the pitch, and it's in the dirt and gets by the catcher, and coming home late is the runner on third who will now come and score. That is Kaz Herrera, that also had the RBI single in the inning. So another run scoring here on another play that for the Buccaneers, kind of unfortunate in the sense that they're just unforced errors. You're making errors in the field and you're throwing wild pitches and runs are coming in. Well, Byer coming into today had made 20 innings pitched and 20 strikeouts, so a 1 strikeout to 1 inning ratio. This pitch is called a strike. 4.50 ERA, 1.30 WHIP for Byer. In that game, believe it or not, the game where he went 6 innings and didn't allow a hit. Another nice off-speed pitch in there for strike 2. In that game, he did not get the decision. It was 0-0 when he left. And the Legends actually took a 1-0 lead in the 7th inning. And then the Bucs came back and got an RBI sac fly by Acosta in the 9th to tie it up. Swung on and missed, strike 3. And so down goes the hitter. But the damage was done once again. 2 more runs are scored by AOS, and they now lead 5-0 as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. We'll head to the bottom of the 6th inning. The new score is 5-0. Buccaneers trailing AOS. Bucs will send up the number 10 hitter and then back to the top of the lineup, so that'll be Seminaris. And then Miles Ryan. No, Miles Ryan has been lifted for Chavez, as the first pitch comes in there for strike 1 from Nate Stalinovich, who remains on the mound, the southpaw for AOS. He came in back in the 4th inning. Austin White went the first 3, and quickly ahead of Seminaris here, and it's 0-2. As Mbusi Hashwayo, who started in center field, will now head over to first base to be the base coach. Slider misses inside and low for a ball, and it's 1-2. Meanwhile, it looks like we have another pitcher loosening up in the bullpen. This one misses upstairs, 2-2 the count. So it looks like we're going to get Chavez for sure. Late kick, and here's the pitch. Lined in center field. Will it get down for a base hit? Making a diving attempt is the center fielder Jones, but can't handle it. Full extension, all-out attempt out there by the center fielder, but it will be a base hit for Seminaris. And so the leadoff man's on board here in the bottom of the 6th inning, as Chavez will come up for his first at-bat. Chavez in for Ryan. Meanwhile, on deck is Escobar. And the reason that's a little bit interesting is the fact that Chavez actually is playing in center field, as the first pitch is in there for strike 1, 0-1 the count. So Chavez is actually playing in center, but is hitting in the left fielder's position. And Escobar is actually in left, but is hitting in the center fielder's position. Low and away, ball 1, 1-1 the count. Nice job by the catcher, Anderson, to block that baseball and to make sure that the runner didn't advance in the scoring position. Of course, the Bucs just hoping to maybe scrape a few runs here in the 6th inning as they trail 5-0. Try to maybe chip away at the lead. Squaring around was Chavez, and this pitch misses high and away for ball. As Kevin Smith is actually the third base coach right now, which is something we haven't seen all year at all. Kevin Buller has been the manager and third base coach all season long. Line drive into right field for a base hit. Seminaris checking and will stay put at second base. So a couple singles in a row here for the Buccaneers, as Escobar comes to the plate for his first at-bat. So Escobar coming in for Hashwayo, who finishes 0 for 2 on the day. And you kind of like to see this if you're a Buccaneers fan and parent or anybody that's listening to this game, the sense that there's a little bit of life in the bats all of a sudden here in the 6th inning after not too much for the previous 5. In fact, before this inning, the only hit was a bunt single down the third base line. So now there's 3 hits in the game. And this is going to be a bunt down the third base line. They're trying to get another bunt for a hit, and they have done that as the first 3 batters in the inning reach on hits. And now the bases are loaded here for the Buccaneers. This is coming kind of out of the middle of nowhere. They were trailing 5-0 and really showing no signs of life at all. And now you get your first 3 on with hits. And Kevin Riley at the plate, your number 3 hitter, and a sure bet all-star for this season. First pitch to him is low and away for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Kevin Riley. This is exactly who you want at the plate right now, and really this is the part of the order you want at the plate with the bases loaded. The heart of the order coming up. Cracked in the left field for a base hit. In comes 1 run, rounding third, and being sent home is Chavez. The plate of the plate is cut off, and it's 5-2. So the Buccaneers, 4 consecutive hits. And they score 2 runs. Still no outs in the inning. And still 2 runners on base. And, I mean, we've been talking about it all season long. But, surprise, surprise, Kevin Riley comes through with the bases loaded. 2 RBI single. And that is just something that number 15 does time and time again. Now here's Johnny Juarez. Johnny Juarez 0 for 2, a couple groundouts to the shortstop. Here's the pitch. He's laying one down the third base line and foul, and it's 0-1. So in this situation, you figure maybe he's just trying to sacrifice here because there are still 2 runners on base, and if you sacrifice them over to second and third, you have 2 runners in scoring position, and you can potentially make it a 5-4 game. But meanwhile, you've also had 2 bunt hits down the third base line. Now, of course, Juarez is a catcher, so he's not the most fleet of foot, but he'll take this one inside for ball 1, and it's 1-1. Sounds like the dugout is all of a sudden a bit motivated and inspired down that third base line, as it looks like Seminaris is really the guy leading the charge, being very vocal. And this one misses inside. The runner was off with the pitch. What is going on here? Somebody missed the sign. It must have been a hit and run. And so Escobar is caught out as Kevin Smith is just in disbelief about what just happened there. But the thing that also makes no sense is if it was a hit and run, or if it was supposed to be a bunt, Juarez didn't either swing at it or bunt it either. So you had 2 guys making a mistake, and then you had Riley headed to second base. I mean, that is not what you like to see. And that is not a good way to make the first out here in the inning, as Escobar will now be caught stealing. And in theory, you get Riley with a stolen base. But that's not the way you want to make your first out. And now there's another line drive base hit by Juarez, and Riley is going to have to stay put at third base. And really, that caught stealing now is even like a worse thing for the Buccaneers because they've had all these hits in a row. 4 hits in a row for the Buccaneers. Make that 5. And there's runners on the corners, 1 out, and up comes Jake Teagle. This is Teagle's first at-bat in a long time. He has not been with the team in the past few days. As we mentioned at the top of the broadcast when we saw him, he's a guy that works, so he can't get to a lot of the weekday games. Breaking pitch, misses low and inside for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Teagle, 6'1", 180-pound right-handed hitter from Chaffey College. Exactly like the man on third, Kevin Riley, also going to Chaffey. Here's the pitch. The runner's off, and it's grounded to the right side. First baseman checking second and thinks better of it and will step on the bag. It will be an RBI ground out, though, for Teagle, and it's now 5-3 as Kevin Riley crosses home plate and Johnny Juarez advances in the second. But you got what you were looking for in the sense that you scored another run. You've now made it a 2-run ball game. So still only the 6th inning. You still have 3 more at-bats after this one to try to plate a few more runs. Here comes Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks laying one down the third base line for a bunt hit in his last at-bat. Takes low for ball 1, 1-0 the count. So Brooks is 1 for 2. As we mentioned, had the bunt and then also grounded it out to the second baseman back in the 2nd inning. Here's the 1-0. And this one's lined straight back where it came from up the middle. And the second baseman making a diving attempt. And Kevin Smith is sending Juarez home, and Juarez comes and scores. It's 5-4. Bryce Brooks all the way to third after the play from the second baseman went well over the head of the catcher. And now you have the tying run just 90 feet away from scoring. Wow. So Juarez scores. I mean, and this was a play made by the second baseman Hernandez that was really unbelievable that he just got glove on the ball and maybe arm on the ball as he's shaking out his left arm a bit. But the fact that he knocked it down and ensured that it didn't get in the outfield, you thought that definitely would have saved a run. But Kevin Smith waving home the runner, Juarez. And Juarez, he scores after the throw from the second baseman comes too high to the catcher. And it's 5-4. And really, you look at this 6th inning, and it's just all of a sudden become a hit parade, but still the Buccaneers are trailing 5-4 as we'll have a conference at the mound for AOS. I mean, this inning is almost rivaling the inning that the Pirates had, but still a lot more hits to go if they equal that inning where the Pirates ended up going 11 consecutive batters with a hit. And that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of baseball. And they had a 9-0 lead on 11 straight hits in the first inning. Well, it's a new game. It's 5-4. Buccaneers were hoping that maybe they can make it a completely brand new game if they score one more run. Here is Luke Asperger for his first at-bat of the game. Luke Asperger is replacing Anthony Rabito in the lineup. And he takes this one for a ball, 1-1 the count. Luke Asperger, 6'0", 190-pound right-handed hitter. And this one misses low for ball 2, 2-1 the count. Well, it's interesting because we mentioned there were a lot of changes in the lineup here for this 6th inning. And everybody off the bench seeming to do their job so far, but a bunch of guys that were still in also doing their job as this fastball misses outside, and it's 3-1 here to Asperger. And this is a pitch right now, if you're Asperger, you really want to try to take advantage of on a 3-1 pitch. It's definitely a hitter's pitch and one that you might be able to sit dead red on fastball. But this one misses outside. 5-pitch walk drawn by Asperger. And so runners on the corners, 2 outs, 5-4 the score. Buccaneers trailing AOS with Michael Smith at the plate. Michael Smith entering for Rudy Casares at second base, so you can close the book on Casares, who's now 0 for 2. Time called for by the catcher, who heads out to talk to his pitcher, Nate Stalinovich. Meanwhile, Michael Smith looking over towards Kevin Bowler, the manager in the dugout, as well as Kevin Smith, his uncle, down the third base line. Kevin Smith, Michael Smith, I should say, as there's a pickoff throw over to first, not in time. Michael Smith, 5'10", 170, right-handed hitter from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Time called for at the plate. So Smith will step out of the box. Mentioned as the youngest of 5 siblings in the past. Very scrappy person in general, but also scrappy player. This pitch comes in there for a strike to Smith. 0-1 the count. Well, the dugout is certainly as vocal as it's been right now, as the tying run just 90 feet away. Pickoff throw over to first. Just kind of trying to keep Luke Asperger there at first. Certainly wouldn't want him to basically go to second base on a catcher's indifference. And Asperger's off with the pitch. There's a breaking ball that gets past the catcher, and in comes Bryce Brooks to score. Asperger lost his helmet and was thinking about heading to third, but he stays put as he kind of trips over the helmet that he lost. And it's now 5-5. Wow, what an inning right here as Bryce Brooks scores. And now Asperger is in scoring position here for Michael Smith. If you can get a base hit to the outfield, the Buccaneers might take the lead. Here's the 1-2. Breaking pitch. I thought it was 1-2. I guess I was wrong. That will just be strike 2 for Smith. And so that was the second strike. It was a nice breaking pitch at the knees. Now fastball high and away for a ball to Smith. All of a sudden, the Buccaneers exploding for 5 runs in the 6th inning. Hoping to get maybe one more to take the lead. This one is chopped to the left side. One hopper caught by the third baseman Nunez, who fires over to first, and a nice backhanded grab made there at first base by Fazio to retire the side. But it was a very, very good and noisy inning for the Buccaneers, who score 5 runs and hit 9 batters in the inning. We'll head to the top of the 7th in a 5-5 game. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back. It's a brand new ball game as we head to the top of the 7th inning. First pitch misses low for ball 1 from Micah Byer, who came in and inherited a bases-loaded jam back in the 6th inning. And actually 1 run scoring on a wild pitch from him, but getting out of the jam proved to be very big for the Buccaneers, as it's now a 5-5 game. Bucs scoring 5 runs in the 6th inning, as this one was fouled here by Matt Hernandez. Hernandez is 0 for 2, couple ground ball outs back in the 3rd and 4th innings for number 1 on AOS. Meanwhile, on deck is Rob Salcido. Here's the pitch. Fastball low and away from Micah Byer. We started talking about it a bit in the last inning when he originally came in, but Byer doesn't have the biggest stature, 5'11", 145 pounds. Swung on and missed. That's strike 2. But he is a very good, or a very smart pitcher. Has a lot of different pitches to offer from. Really knows what he wants to do and what his strategy is on how he wants to retire certain hitters. Called strike 3 on the outside corner, and that'll be the first out of the inning here in the 7th. 5-5 the score. It was AOS who took a 1-0 lead back in the 3rd inning on an RBI single by Andy Jones. They tacked on 2 more in the 4th on an error by Rudy Casares that scored 2 runs. Scoring on the play was Herrerez and Carter. Byer comes set, fires, breaking pitch low for ball 1. 1-0 the count to Salcido. And then 2 more scoring in the 6th inning for AOS. It was Christensen and Herrera who scored in the 5th, so Herrera scoring his 2nd run. Also had the RBI single that knocked in the 1st run in the inning. Towering fly ball hit to shallow center field. Coming in and making the backhanded catch is Richie Chavez, as Michael Smith was sprinting out there, and they were kind of almost ran into each other out there in center field. I don't know if anybody was calling for it, but certainly that seemed like a ball that the center fielder should have called for, and Michael Smith probably should have backed away from it. But like I said, obviously you can't hear out there if anybody called for it at all. But they avoided the collision, so that'll just be the 2nd out here of the inning. Off-speed pitch at the knees, called a strike. 0-1 the count here to Jacob Kaufman, the shortstop. He's 1 for 2. Singled back in the third and scored. Grounded out in the 5th inning to the second baseman. And this one misses upstairs for ball 1, 1-1 the count. Micah Byer, another local guy. A lot of local guys around the Inland Empire for the Buccaneers team. Played at Don Lugo and attends Cal Baptist. Fastball outside and low for a ball. I mentioned Micah Byer having a very, very great performance the last time, hoping to have another good one here today. But this fastball is overthrown in the dirt, and it's 3-1 to number 3-1 for AOS. Well, I'm not quite sure exactly what created the offensive fireworks for the Buccaneers in that last inning, other than the fact that as this fastball misses well low in the dirt for ball 4, so that'll be a 5-pitch walk drawn by Kaufman. This is the first base runner here in the 7th inning for AOS, as they now send up their last hitter in the lineup, Tyler Charlton, who is 0 for 1, struck out in the 5th, and was hit by a pitch in the 3rd. Once again, another man is up in the bullpen for the Buccaneers. Here's the pitch. Fastball, called strike 1 on the outside corner, 0-1 the count. That'll be Diaz, who is getting up in the bullpen for the Buccaneers here. So every pitcher who came today is going about 2 or 1 innings, 1 or 2 innings, I should say, for the Bucs. Off-speed pitch high and in for a ball. The only other pitcher there is Jason De La Pena out there in the dugout. So maybe they're figuring that Diaz will go the 8th and De La Pena will go the 9th. Although if this game is still tied, we'll see what happens from there on. Because obviously all the pitchers, when you have them pitch a couple innings each, they cannot re-enter the game unless they get special exemption in a non-league game. But we'll deal with that once we get there if it is tied at the end of 9. 5-5 the score here. Top of the 7th inning. 2 outs. Runner on first is Kaufman. He bluffs over at first. This is called a strike on a fastball. And that'll be strike 2 here for Micah Byer. Micah Byer, as we mentioned, just seems to have a high baseball IQ. Here's the pitch. Fastball. Called strike 3 on the outside corner. And down goes Charlton. And that'll be the second strikeout looking of the inning. And so Micah Byer having another pretty good outing here. Obviously, he did have the wild pitch that scored a run, but this was a very good inning for him. And it remained 5-5 as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Time to stretch here at Cal Poly Pomona. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. The new pitcher is Schneider here for AOS. So he comes in to relieve Nate Stalinovich, who pitched the middle 3 innings. And it was Austin White who started the first 3 for AOS. Well, this, of course, a new ball game. It was 5-0 AOS. And this pitch is swung off the end of the bat by Campbell, right back to the pitcher, and he will fire over to first base for the first out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. But it was 5-0 AOS as we headed to the bottom of the 6th inning. And then the Buccaneers getting 5 in the 6th and tying it up at 5 apiece. And, I mean, everybody was coming through with the stick in that 6th inning. Seminars started it off with a single. Then it was Chavez. He had a single. Escobar had a single. Riley, a 2-run single, as this pitch misses inside for ball 1 to Anthony Seminaris. Johnny Juarez had a single and scored. Jake Teagle had the RBI ground out. And Bryce Brooks had a single and scored. And this one misses in the dirt for ball 2, 2-0 the count. So they had 5 consecutive hits in the inning. And then they had the RBI ground out and then another hit. Ooh, this was a foul ball. The reason I said ooh was because it was a fastball that was high and up, and Seminaris kept his bat up, and it made contact with the bat, did the baseball. And that's something that's kind of the way maybe you'd say the season has been going for Seminaris, but he has had a good game today. He singled and scored back in the 6th and was also hit by a pitch. Actually, he's been coming on strong over the last few games or so, but a lot of tough outs for him this season in general, as this one is fouled out of play behind home plate. When you think about some of the hits that he's had robbed, just kind of, being in that number 9, number 10 spot, a lot of outfields play him short, play him shallow. And so he's had a couple of hits that maybe if you're higher up in the lineup, they're definitely hits. But because the outfield plays shallow against a hitter late in the lineup, they're able to get there quicker and make the play. Also, he's had definitely 1 and maybe 2 that should have been infield base hits this season. There was one that was 100% he beat out and he was called out on the play. And there was a second one that was marginal, but some tough luck for Seminaris. He checks his swing here and holds up as this pitch misses high and inside for ball 4. So Seminaris on base for the 3rd time and as many plate appearances. And that's what you like to see for your last hitter in the lineup, is he's sort of an extension of the leadoff hitter. And if he can turn it over to the top of the lineup like he did in the 6th inning, it's always a good thing. Seminaris has seemed like he's been sort of the vocal leader here today in this game. He's been very fiery, very vocal in the dugout. Squaring is Chavez, and Seminaris is going to steal second base. The ball temporarily gets away from the shortstop, but it won't get away far enough for Anthony to head to third. And second base became dislodged on the steal, so he picked it up for a little bit and will now put it back in. But that was huge, because the go-ahead run is now in scoring position for the Buccaneers on the stolen base by Seminaris. Meanwhile, they're trying to dig second base back into its post over there. And Rudy Casares, I guess he's the expert at this. We talked about it. He was doing this earlier in the game, so I'm not exactly sure if there's something wrong over there, if there's just, I don't know what, but Rudy Casares seems to be, as a second baseman, the expert on how to exactly to put it back into the hole. Meanwhile, bottom of the 7th inning, 5-5 the score. Bucks tied with AOS. 1 out. It's a big situation right here for Chavez, who entered back in the 6th inning and singled and scored. Came in for Miles Ryan. So a lot of production out of the leadoff spot in the order. Leadoff spot in the order has not been retired yet. 2 walks and 1 single for the Buccaneers at a leadoff spot. Breaking pitch in the dirt, ball 1, 1-0 the count. It was Miles Ryan who started in the leadoff spot and drew the 2 walks. Actually really having no chance to even swing at a pitch, because he walked on 4 and then he walked on 5, but he was originally down 3-0 in the count. And this one misses away for a ball. I think we had a little bit of technical difficulties for a moment there, but we are now back on air as this one misses, or it's called a strike down at the knees. Had a little bit of a problem with our stream, I guess, for a very short amount of time, and it has since been fixed. So glad that you're hanging in with us. And if you don't know yet that it's back connected, we will make a tweet. Line drive to the right side. Nice stop over there at first base. The flip made to the pitcher in time, so that'll be the 2nd out of the inning on a great play made by Fazio, the first baseman, just to knock that ball down and then to complete the out. Wow. So they get a 1-3 out in this inning and a 3-1 out in this inning, and now there's 2 down in the bottom of the 7th. Seminaris did advance up into third base on the play. But now Escobar is going to have to come through here in the clutch if he can. With 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th inning. And the go-ahead run just 90 feet away from scoring. The Buccaneers hoping to continue what's been a good stretch for them as this breaking pitch misses in the dirt. Mentioned in the last 5 games, 3-1-1. Here's the pitch, and it hits the left arm of Escobar, who didn't really move at all to get out of the way, but the name of the game is getting runners on base, and so Escobar is now on first base after being hit by the pitch. And now there's runners on first and third with 2 outs. Here comes Kevin Riley. The runner's off, and the throw is way out in the right center field. And in comes the 6th run of the game to score. That is Anthony Seminaris, and it's 6-5 Buccaneers. As the throw was just nowhere near second base. And especially in that situation with the go-ahead run on third, if you're not sure that you can make the throw down there, you got to keep it in your hand. But that'll work for the Bucs in the form of a run. And this is a high fly ball down the right field line by Kevin Riley. Right fielder closing in on it and making the catch out there is Whithorn for the final out of the inning. But the Bucs take a 6-5 lead after a stolen base attempt forces an error from the catcher, and in comes Anthony Seminaris. And that's what the score is. It's 6-5, end of 7. We'll head to the top of the 8th. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back. I understand that we have been dealing with some technical issues here today, as this one is called a strike. 0-1 the count here for the new pitcher Daniel Diaz for the Buccaneers. Right-handed hurler, delivering his second pitch here. And this one misses outside, and it's 1-1. Up at bat is the leadoff hitter for AOS. That is Andy Jones. He's 1 for 2, had the RBI single in the 3rd, struck out in the 5th, and walked in the 1st. Late kicking here's the pitch. This one's Swan, a towering fly ball really down the third base line and foul, and Luke Asperger will catch it in foul territory for the first out here of the 8th inning. So we are being told that we did have a few technical difficulties. It was really just, I guess, because of an overheat issue, as it was so hot that the wireless feed cut out for a bit. Here's the pitch from Diaz, and this one misses low for a ball. So it's ball 1-0 the count here to Brian Christensen. Came in the 6th inning and reached on an error and scored. Diaz fires. Swan line drive right at the first baseman, Teagle, who makes the catch right off the infield dirt for the second out here. And so 2 up and 2 down for Diaz. Daniel Diaz, 6'4", 170 pounds. Plays for Mount San Antonio College, right down the street here from Cal Poly Pomona, probably about a mile away. Here's the pitch. Fastball on the inside, called strike 1 to Cal Fazio. Fazio making a great play in the last half inning. Diving catch that saved a run from scoring at the time. He bounces it to the right side over to Michael Smith. Smith fields cleanly and fires to Teagle to retire the side here. There's a 3 up and 3 down here for Diaz in the 8th inning. And we'll head to the bottom of the 8th, 6-5 the score, Bucs on top of AOS. You're listening on InlandValleyBaseball.com. And welcome back as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. 6-5 the score. Buccaneers on top. Johnny Juarez takes outside for ball 1. He is 1 for 3 with a single and a run scored back in the 6th inning. Well, if you're just joining us, you have missed a whole lot. Ground ball over to the left side at the shortstop Kaufman, and The play will not be made at first base on a ball that was bounced over to the first baseman. So that'll be an error on the shortstop as Juarez reaches. But the reason I say you have missed a lot is just the fact that the Buccaneers were trailing 5-0 heading into the bottom of the 6th inning. And then 5 runs score in the 6th on 5 consecutive hits and 6 hits overall in the inning. And then in the 7th, scoring 1 more, the man who scored the go-ahead run, called strike 1 to Jake Teagle. Teagle's 0 for 1 but had an RBI groundout in the 6th. And the run scoring in that last inning was Anthony Seminaris. And he scored on a ground ball to the right side. It was actually bunted by Teagle and it's foul. He scored on a stolen base attempt. What happened was the catcher tried throwing out the runner with 2 outs in the inning and overshot the second baseman covering, and it went out into center field, and Seminaris was able to score on the play, and so that's how the Bucs took that 6-5 lead. Runners off with the pitch. This one's lined into right field. Will it be fair? Yes, it is fair. So Juarez is going to go all the way over to third. And Teagle will stay on first with the single. We talked about Teagle, really a guy who hasn't played in that many games this season. And he just decided that today he didn't want to go to work and he wanted to get his at-bats. And he's come through with a single right there to right field. And now here comes Bryce Brooks. Bryce Brooks is 2 for 3. Scored a run in the 6th inning. He also had the ground ball up the middle, which was a hit, but it was stopped by the second baseman who made a diving catch. Here's the pitch, and it misses inside, and that's going to be another stolen base. The catcher not even trying to throw down the second, as we mentioned what happened the last time he tried doing that. It sailed over the head, I should say, of the middle infielders. And the go-ahead run scored. So now 2 runners in scoring position here for the Buccaneers, with Bryce Brooks at the plate. This one misses high and in for a ball. This is another guy that you want to see up at the plate. Certainly Bryce Brooks is a guy who's been very good with the bat, especially in the RBI category. 6 RBIs and 8 runs scored. I mean, he's a guy that's getting it done for the Buccaneers. This is really a situation for the Bucs, as this one is swung on, missed off-speed pitch. Well out in front of it was Bryce. But this is a situation right now that if you're the Bucs, you got to try to cash in on the fact that you have a couple guys on base and no outs. So in theory, you can score both runs without even getting a hit in this scenario. Breaking pitch in the dirt. A good job by blocking that pitch and making sure that it didn't come to the backstop, or else another Buccaneer run would have scored. We talk about it, it's a situation where really you can get a couple, a sac fly and maybe just a ground ball. Of course, the infield is in on the grass for AOS. Breaking pitch misses inside for ball 4. 5-pitch walk drawn by Brooks, who heads down to first base with the bases loaded. And here comes Luke Asperger. Luke Asperger, this is his second plate appearance. His first one was back in the 6th inning where he walked. The infield remains in. And this one hits Asperger. And so that will be an RBI the hard way, as Johnny Juarez will come to score, and it's now 7-5. But I'm sure he'll take it nonetheless. Well, number 4, Luke Asperger. And all of a sudden, it's really starting to fall apart here for AOS. We mentioned they had a 5-0 lead, and now trails 7-5. Here's Michael Smith, 0 for 1, grounded out to the third baseman and takes strike 1, a fastball in there. Michael Smith still here with the bases loaded. hoping to get another knock for the Buccaneers and maybe even try to put this game out of hand. Slow breaking pitch misses inside and high for ball. 1-1 the count here for Michael Smith. Late kicking, here's the pitch, and this one is swung on and fouled back behind home plate by Smith. Teagle is on third base. He had the line drive single in the right field. On second base is Bryce Brooks, who walked. And on first base is Luke Asperger, who was hit by a pitch. And a run came to score on that in the form of Johnny Juarez. Still no outs. Swung on and missed. And that is strike 3. So down goes Smith. So that'll be the first out here of the inning, as the middle infielders will move back into double play depth, and the corner infielders will remain on the infield grass. Obviously, corner infielders are going to come home, and then they're going to try to make the play to first, while the middle infielders will try to turn 2. First pitch is high and in for ball 1 to Brendan Campbell. Campbell is 0 for 3. 3 groundouts. 1 to the second baseman, 1 to the shortstop, and 1 to the pitcher. Meanwhile, on deck is Anthony Seminaris, who's been right in the middle of the rallies. Snap throw down to first, and oh, wow, they almost got it there on time. And actually, Jake Teagle on the play was about a third of the way to home plate. I'm not too certain that he wouldn't have scored if he tried to go there. The tag was not really applied over there at first base. Otherwise, that would have been really close, because Asperger was kind of caught off there, which is kind of silly because there's nowhere to go. There's a runner on second and a runner on third. You should not be getting caught off first base, as this one misses high and in for a ball to Campbell. Asperger, of all people, you go to Stanford, you're a smart guy. Bucs hoping to score a few more runs here if they can in the bottom of the 8th inning. 7-5 the score. This one's a strike in there. Well, you got to like the 6th inning if you're the Buccaneers. You probably don't like the original 5, which is why we saw Kevin Boulder kind of have a conference with the team on a couple occasions before deciding that he himself didn't want to be the third base coach anymore, and that is ball 4, and that is another run scored here for the Bucs. So an RBI for Brendan Campbell. Here comes Anthony Seminaris for the 3rd time in the last 3 innings. But 2 runs scoring, 1 on a hit batter and 1 on a walk. That's really tough for AOS. Base is still loaded. 1 out. Bottom of the 8th inning. Seminaris takes inside for strike 1. 0-1 the count. Time called for by the hitter Seminaris. Well, I would like to ask, and I think I am definitely going to ask, what maybe kind of created the offensive fireworks after this game is over. High fly ball to left field, and the left fielder can't see it. Everybody should go. He doesn't know where it is, and that's going to fall down. In comes 1 run. There's Bryce Brooks. Asperger coming home to score. Campbell is going to score. And Seminaris is getting the wave home, and he's going to come home and score. Seminaris. That's going to go down as a grand slam inside the park. Home run. The left fielder couldn't react to it. He didn't see where it was. It was hit right down the left field line. And Seminaris putting on the Jets, going to hyper speed and scoring. And the Buccaneers, this is unbelievable. Over the last 3 innings, wow, you're trailing 5-0. And all of a sudden, you get 5 in the 6th inning. You score 1 on the mistake on the throw back in the 7th. And now, 6 runs here in the 8th. Line drive down the first base line, foul. Seminaris That'll go down as a grand slam. We haven't seen the ball leave the park too often in this park this season, only 3 times. That was inside the park. But that's something that hitters, or I shouldn't say hitters, I should say fielders, the left fielder, shortstop, and third baseman usually have to deal with the sun out there, but that's usually when we're getting towards like the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, it's pretty much straight above head is the sun. Maybe a little bit of a in the way of the left fielder, but wow. Ground ball over to the first baseman, who will step on the bag for the 3 unassisted put out there to retire Chavez. And that's only the second out of the inning. For an inning that has been going on for a long time. And if you're the Buccaneers, almost thinking that maybe this lineup that you put in the middle of the game is the lineup that you maybe should have started with, as they have removed a lot of players. Of course, everybody gets their playing time for the most part. But moving ahead to Palm Springs, I think Kevin Bowler has a lot to think about now, as this is called a strike here, and it's 0-1 to Escobar. Because going against Palm Springs is, he's going to play his best 9 in those 2 games. And so now he has a lot to think about in the sense that a lot of guys off the bench here today coming through with base hits. Escobar takes one off the left shoulder. And that is the second time in a row he was hit by a pitch. Here's Kevin Riley. Well, this is just unbelievable in the sense that where the Bucs were in this game, showing kind of no life at all in the first 5 innings. The runner's off with the pitch. The throw down to second is in time, so Escobar is caught stealing, and that'll end the inning, as Kevin Riley is, I think, a bit disappointed. I think he wanted another at-bat there. And Kevin Riley was actually the 10th hitter in the inning, so they would have hit through the lineup had Kevin Riley gotten that at-bat. Kevin Riley's going to finish 1 for 4 on the day. That's one of the weakest games he's had in recent memory. But he did have the 2 RBIs and scored. But obviously Kevin Riley, still a great hitter and still definitely, without question, is going to represent the Buccaneers in the All-Star game. But he won't get that final at-bat, as that will do it for the 8th inning. But in the 8th, 6 more runs score, and it's now 12-5, Buccaneers leading. As we head to the final frame, the 9th inning, and we'll have Jason De La Peña coming in the top of the 9th to close things down here for the Buccaneers. And when you look at it, it's just crazy. I mean, it's really, you think about it, it's crazy. You have Jason De La Peña, I guess, I don't guess, I know, one of your better pitchers that they probably just saved to make sure that they would get the save and close this thing down in a 6-5 game. And you get 6 runs in the 8th inning. It's not even a save situation anymore for De La Peña, the left-handed pitcher who comes in for just 1 inning of work. We would figure, unless something even crazier happens in this 9th inning. Jason De La Peña is 5'11", 175. He'll be a junior at Cal State San Bernardino this next season. He majors in criminal justice as he continues to take warm-up throws here as we work our way to the 9th inning. Hometown is Los Angeles, went to Los Altos High School, where he was a first-team All-Hacienda League performer. Here's A.C. Nunez. So you're right in the middle of the lineup. 4, 5, and 6 is where AOS is. A.C. Nunez, 0 for 2, did reach on an error in the first, walked in the 4th, and struck out in the 6th. De La Peña is also a guy who originally went to Citrus College out of high school. First pitch that he throws is a fastball in the outside corner called strike 1. I would say also went to Citrus College because we mentioned a lot of players on this team playing for Citrus College at one point or on the Pirates. Fly ball fell and out of play, 0-2 the count. But with Citrus College as a sophomore, he was an honorable mention all-conference performer In 17 appearances, he had a 0.79 ERA and struck out 24 in 22 and 2/3 innings. Fastball outside, ball 1, 1-2 the count here for Jason De La Pena. Jason De La Pena fires, and this one misses high and away for ball 2, 2-2 the count. De La Pena has pitched 19 1/3 innings so far this season and 19 strikeouts. So that's right on par with that junior collegiate numbers that we just gave you. Pretty much more than one strikeout an inning. This one swung on and fouled straight back at the screen, so we'll do it again. Another 2-2 to come here for De La Pena going against Nunez. The ERA is a bit high, though, 5.12, and this one misses for ball 3, 3-2 the count. 1.91 whip. But you think about the ERA being high, and part of the reason that is because he's been having to go against some of the top competition that the Bucs have faced this year. And this one misses low and inside for ball 4. So good job right there by cleanup hitter Nunez, drawing a walk, getting the leadoff man on base here for AOS. As Kaz Herrera steps up to the plate. Herrera scored 2 of the 5 runs by AOS. Scored in the 4th after reaching on a fielder's choice, and scored in the 6th on a wild pitch. First pitch misses for a ball 1, 1-0 the count. Also had an RBI single in the 6th, so Herrera getting the job done out of the 5 spot, part of 3 runs scoring out of the 5 for AOS. Here's the pitch for De La Pena, swung on and missed, and it's 1-1. Well, the Buccaneers, after 5 innings, no runs scored. In fact, at the end of the top of the 6th, through 5.5 innings, it was 5-0. All of a sudden, you get 5 in the bottom of the 6th to tie it up, 1 in the 7th to take the lead, and then 6 in the 8th on an inside-the-park grand slam by Anthony Seminares. This one is swung on and missed for strike 2. The other 2 runs scoring in the inning, though, were really unforced errors. And I guess you could even say the grand slam was almost an unforced error, as this one is high and tight and just missed hitting the hitter. But the other 2 runs scored on a hit batter and a walk before the grand slam, where the left fielder didn't react to it and couldn't see the ball at all. And it wasn't even near it either, which is part of the reason it was a grand slam. And this one is in the dirt for a ball. So De La Pena walking the first 2 hitters he sees. I mean, the score is 12-5 here. If you're the catcher, Johnny Juarez, you're probably just saying throw some strikes, and we'll just get out of this for you. Be able to make a few plays. Here comes T.J. Carter. T.J. Carter is 1 for 2. Singled in the 6th, walked and scored in the 4th, and flew out to the third baseman back in the 2nd inning. I believe when he singled, he beat out an infield hit. I think he showed off some jets. He's squaring around here, but now he's bringing it back. And this is called a strike on a fastball. 0-1 the count. As some of the AOS fans are saying it's low, and it did look a bit low there. T.J. Carter is very short, though. Here's the pitch from De La Pena. Swung and lined into right field over the head of Teagle, but foul. So that'll be a strike. So that'll be the 2nd strike of the at-bat here for Carter. Top of the 9th inning. 12-5 the score. Bucs on top of AOS. No outs. De La Pena taking his time and now firing home. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. And down goes T.J. Carter as he kind of spins his way back to the dugout on a pitch that was low and outside. And then he went chasing after. This is Josh Jacobs. Left-handed hitter coming in with 1 out and 2 runners on base. He takes inside for ball 1, 1-0 the count. Here's the pitch from De La Pena, and that'll be strike 1, 1-1 the count. We talked about, it seemed like Chris Sanchez really takes his time, but also Jason De La Pena as well. Taking a lot of time before delivering the pitch. He checks both runners before firing, and then this one is swung on and fouled into the third base dugout over towards the leaf, being Anthony Seminaris. Seminaris trying to leap up and barehand that. He'll throw that back into the third base dugout. De La Pena hoping to strike out another batter, but now steps off the mound. For the Buccaneers, you definitely have to feel good about the way this game finished in the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning. Ground ball hit over to Michael Smith. This should be a 4-6-3 game-ending double play, and it is that. As Smith flips it over to second, and Riley fires to first, and that'll do it for this baseball game. And 12-5 will be the final score for the Buccaneers, who now win and improve to 4-1-1 in the last 6 games. So a very good 6-game stretch for the Bucs, as De La Pena is met out there on the mound by everybody else, who is now high-fiving after a game where the Bucs fell behind 5-0 and then scored 12 unanswered runs to win 12-5. And we talked about it. It was one in the third, I should say, for AOS. So they took a 1-0 lead. 2 in the fourth. Then they're up 3-0. Then in the sixth, they get 2 more. They're up 5-0. And then you go to the 6th inning, and the Buccaneers tie it at 5 apiece. Anthony Seminaris leading it off the inning, singled and scored. Chavez singled and scored. Escobar had the single. Kevin Riley a 2-run single and scored. Johnny Juarez singled and scored. Jake Teagle had an RBI ground out. Bryce Brooks singled and scored. And so that's how they got the 5 runs. Then you go to the 7th inning, and they take a 6-5 lead on an error by the catcher as Anthony Seminaris comes home to score, and Escobar was trying to steal second base, and the throw from the catcher over the head of the middle infielders and into center field. So that's how they got the 6-5 lead. Then you go to the 8th inning, and in the 8th inning, wow, what a tough inning for AOS. First of all, a run scores on a hit batter, then a run scores on a walk, and then the grand slam inside the park home run on a ball that the left fielder could not react to, and it was nowhere even near it. And it was a fly ball hit down the left field line by Anthony Seminaris, who gets those 4 RBIs on that one play. He had 0 RBIs coming into the game today, so I'm sure he'll be happy about that. He did have a number of runs scored and scored 3 in this game. And you have to like that, especially if you're Kevin Bowler, because Seminaris is definitely a guy that is really good in the field, and as we mentioned, just hasn't had the best of luck so far this season. Maybe his luck is starting to turn a bit, as they now head to a big 2-game series in Palm Springs on Tuesday and Wednesday, both games set for 7 o'clock out there at Palm Springs Stadium. Then they'll travel to San Diego for a 2-game series with the San Diego Force Thursday and Friday, before coming back here next Sunday at 11 a.m. for another game. So a busy schedule for the Buccaneers, and obviously the 2 biggest games are against the Power on Tuesday and Wednesday, but 2 more really big games when you think about the Force on Thursday and Friday. And so that'll do it for this game. Our next broadcast will be Tuesday. That'll be a Pirates game. They take on the East LA Dodgers here at 5 o'clock. And then we'll have another game at 5 o'clock on Wednesday night for the Pirates. and another game on Thursday. Actually, we'll have two of them for you on Thursday. It'll be a doubleheader here for the Pirates against the Rounders, starting at 2 o'clock, and then we finish the games at, or the second game, I should say, will be at 5 o'clock. So that'll do it, and that's a wrap here for the game for the Buccaneers as they win 12-5 over AOS. Of course, I'm Dave Sobera on the play-by-play saying thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.